At the very edge of the map, where the continent of South America frays and unravels into a frenzy of wind, rock, and ice, lies a name that echoes with myth: Patagonia. This is the bottom of the world, a vast triangular territory that drapes itself over 400,000 square miles, shared by Argentina and Chile. To put that in perspective, it's larger than Texas. It's bigger than France and the United Kingdom combined, a colossal expanse of raw planet. Yet, almost no one lives here. The population density is a staggering 1 person per square mile. In some vast stretches of the arid steppe, you can drive for 6 hours and not see another living soul, just the tumbling, thorny shapes of hardy shrubs. This is a realm of savage extremes. It is a place where rugged, needle-like Andes peaks, frosted with permanent ice, pierce the sky. It's a land where massive, ancient glaciers, rivers of impossible blue ice, carve into turquoise lakes with a sound like cannon fire, a noise that shakes you to your core, and then there is the wind. What many overlook is that Patagonia is defined more than anything by the wind. This is the domain of the roaring 40s, ferocious, unimpeded winds that circle the entire globe at this latitude, finding no landmass to stop them until they slam into the Andes. They howl across the plains at speeds that can, and do, reach 100 miles per hour. These winds are so relentless they carve the landscape. They twist the native lenga and nyea trees into gnarled, horizontal sculptures, making them look like they are permanently screaming in one direction. This constant, invisible force shapes everything. It shapes the customs, the architecture, where buildings are low and sturdy, and the profound resilience of the few who call this place home. The name Patagonia itself is built on a legend. When the explorer Ferdinand Magellan landed here in 1520, his expedition encountered the native Tehuelche people. The Tehuelche were a tall, robust people, averaging around 6 feet, which was a full head taller than the European sailors of the time. They wore thick, warm cloaks made of stitched guanaco skin and large, furry boots, which left massive footprints in the sand. In his log, Magellan's chronicler, Antonio Pigafetta, described them as Patagones, or Land of the Big Feet. The story grew with every telling back in Europe, and for centuries, maps depicted Patagonia as a land inhabited by 10-foot-tall giants. The myth, in a way, was true. The giants just weren't the people. They were, and still are, the mountains, the ice, and the sheer, terrifying emptiness of the landscape. This is a place where nature remains unapologetically in charge. The region stretches from the 38th parallel south all the way down to the 55th, where the world seems to end. It tapers like a dagger, ending in a dramatic, chaotic finale of islands and storms. This tapering geography creates two vastly different worlds. To the east, in Argentina, lies the Patagonian Desert, an arid, windswept steppe. To the west, in Chile, the land shatters into a labyrinth of rain-soaked fjords and temperate rainforests. Two faces of the same giant. This is the historic heartland of the gaucho, the legendary South American cowboy. For over a century, these tough-as-nails horsemen, often of mixed European and indigenous heritage, have ruled the steppe. They work on colossal estancias, or ranches, some covering hundreds of thousands of acres, larger than entire counties. The gauchos' life is one of profound solitude and skill, herding vast flocks of sheep and cattle. Their traditions are the backbone of Patagonian culture. The asado, a slow-roasted barbecue of whole lamb, the constant comfort of sipping mate. A bitter herbal tea from a shared gourd, and their uniform of the buina, beret, bombachas, baggy trousers, and the ever-present facon, a large knife tucked into their belt. Exploring this land is not for the faint of heart. It is a paradise for adventurers, a place to feel truly small against the backdrop of geological time. It's where you can hike the legendary W Trek in Torres del Paine, kayak among icebergs carved from a living glacier, or spend a day on an estancia, riding horses across the pampas and watching a sheep shearing demonstration, a display of speed and precision that is mesmerizing to watch. The region is also home to a staggering natural wonder, the southern Patagonian icefield. It's the world's third largest reserve of fresh water, right after Antarctica and Greenland. This single massive sheet of ice, a frozen sea, covers nearly 5,000 square miles and feeds dozens of iconic glaciers, including the most famous of all, the Perito Moreno. It is a living, moving relic of the last ice age, a frozen heart pumping life into the land. This is the frontier at the end of the world. It's a place that still feels undiscovered, even in the 21st century. It promises ultimate adventure, but it demands respect. But this vast land is split by a massive, impenetrable wall of mountains, creating two worlds that could not be more different. Patagonia is not one place, it is two. The dividing line is the Andes, the jagged ice-capped spine of the continent. This mountain range, which runs the entire length of Patagonia, acts as a massive weather barrier, creating a phenomenon known as a rain shadow. The results are dramatic, to put it mildly. To the west in Chile, you find a world that is almost impossibly wet. The prevailing winds from the Pacific Ocean, heavy with moisture, slam into the Andes. They have nowhere to go but up. As they rise, the moisture cools, condenses, and falls as relentless rain and snow. This side of the mountains can receive over 200 inches of rain per year. The result is a landscape that looks more like a cold jungle, a place of vibrant, saturated green. This is Chilean Patagonia. It's not a solid landmass, but a shattered, almost psychedelic labyrinth of over 1,000 fjords, islands, and deep, dark channels. Here, Valdivian temperate rainforests, thick with ferns, moss, and ancient alurse trees, some thousands of years old, cling to vertical rock faces. The ocean cuts deep into the mountains, forming waterways where waterfalls pour directly from glaciers into the salt water of the Pacific. It's a scene of primeval, dripping beauty, a world that feels untouched by time. For the traveler, this region is famously difficult to access. The primary artery is the Carretera Austral, or the Southern Highway. This is one of the most epic and challenging road trips on the planet. Calling it a highway is a generous term. This 770-mile road, also known as Route 7, runs from Puerto Montt south to Villa O'Higgins. But the thing nobody tells you is that vast stretches of it are still unpaved, a rugged, muddy gravel track that snakes its way through near total wilderness. Driving it requires a sturdy vehicle, extra gas cans, and a lot of patience. The road dead ends at several fjords, forcing drivers onto ferries to cross the water and continue the route. But the rewards are unparalleled. The road takes you past wonders like Pumalin Park, a massive private reserve of pristine forest, the hanging glacier of Culat National Park, where a river of ice spills over a cliff, and the jagged spires of Cerro Castillo, a mountain that looks like a Gothic fortress. But then you cross the Andes. The change is so abrupt it's disorienting. In the span of just a few miles, you leave the dripping rainforest and enter the Patagonian steppe. This is Argentine Patagonia. The winds that crossed the Andes have dumped all their moisture. They are now dry, cold, and relentless. Here, the yearly rainfall is less than 10 inches. It's a vast, semi-arid desert that stretches for hundreds of miles to the Atlantic Ocean. The landscape is a mesmerizing, monochromatic canvas of pale greens, grays, and browns. It's an endless expanse of low-lying, thorny shrubs, tough coiron grasses, and flat-topped volcanic plateaus called mesetas. This is the land of the guanaco, a wild relative of the llama, which roams in large, graceful herds. You'll also find the rhea, a large, flightless bird often called the South American ostrich, sprinting across the plains. They are the masters of this empty world, hunted by the region's apex predator, the elusive puma, a master of camouflage in the scrubland. This steppe is the historic heartland of the estancias. These are the massive sheep ranches that once made Patagonia a wool superpower. Some are larger than the entire state of Rhode Island. For over a century, this was the land of the gaucho. These legendary horsemen lived a tough, solitary life, herding millions of sheep for their wool. Their traditions, the asado, barbecue, the mate, a bitter tea, and their skill with the facon, a large knife, still define the culture of rural Argentina. So you have these two Patagonias, one a chaotic, green and watery maze. The other an endless, dry and horizontal plain. Both are ruled by the same wind, but they are worlds apart, separated by the mountain wall that splits the continent. And on that dry Atlantic coast, a unique drama unfolds, a spectacle of life and death found nowhere else on Earth. On the Atlantic coast of Argentina, the dry steppe finally meets the sea. Here, the cliffs are tall and brittle, composed of layered fossils crumbling into a cold, nutrient-rich ocean. This coastline is home to one of the most spectacular wildlife sanctuaries on the planet, Peninsula Valdez. In 1999, this T-shaped peninsula was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the reason is simple. It is a critical breeding ground for some of the ocean's most magnificent creatures. The story of this region is also a deeply human one. In 1865, a ship called the Mimosa, carrying 153 Welsh settlers, landed at what is now Puerto Madryn. They weren't looking for gold or conquest. They were fleeing persecution in Britain, seeking a new Wales, a utopia where they could preserve their language, religion, and culture. What they found was the brutal, arid Patagonian steppe. It was not the green, rainy valley they had been promised. But, with incredible determination and crucial help from the local Tehuelche people, they survived. They dug irrigation canals from the Chubut River, turning a narrow strip of the valley into fertile farmland. Today, the nearby town of Gaiman is the heart of this Welsh Patagonia. It's a surreal and charming experience to sit in a traditional Welsh tea house, a casa de té, in the middle of the Argentine desert. You're served a formal afternoon tea with torta negra, a rich dark fruitcake, scones with homemade jam, and bara brith, a traditional Welsh tea bread. It's a living testament to that immigrant story. The nearby city, Puerto Madryn, is the main hub for visitors. It's a surprisingly large city with a deep water port, a long beachfront, and a wide range of hotels, from luxury high-rises to cozy inns. The city's restaurants specialize in fresh seafood, especially prawns and squid, but the real stars are in the water. From June to December, the sheltered waters of Golfo Nuevo, the bay protected by the peninsula, become a global nursery. Hundreds of southern right whales arrive here to give birth and raise their calves. These 50-foot-long, 80-ton giants are a breathtaking sight. Boat tours from the small town of Puerto Piramides on the peninsula offer an incredibly intimate experience. The whales are naturally curious and often approach the boats, breaching, spy-hopping, and lifting their massive, calloused heads out of the water. The peninsula is also home to massive, noisy colonies of Magellanic penguins, South American sea lions, and enormous elephant seals. The beaches are loud, chaotic, and pungent with life. But this concentration of prey, especially the young, vulnerable sea lion pups, attracts a very specialized, very intelligent predator. This is the only place in the world where orcas, or killer whales, hunt using a technique called strand feeding. It is, to put it mildly, one of the most stunning and dangerous hunting methods in nature. The orcas have learned to use the high tides. They will wait patiently in the channels, watching the young, inexperienced sea lion pups playing in the surf. Then, with an explosive burst of power, the orca will intentionally beach itself, lunging right out of the water and onto the sand to grab a pup. The risk is enormous. If they miscalculate the wave or the slope of the beach, they can be permanently stranded, left to perish. This is not an instinctive behavior. It's a learned skill, a complex culture passed down from mother to calf. The best time to see this is from March to May at a place called Punta Norte. Photographers and documentary crews will wait for weeks for a chance to witness this incredible, brutal, and lightning-fast event. It is a raw display of the intelligence and power that thrives on this wild coast. But as we move south, the land itself begins to tell a much older, much darker human story. As the continent narrows and fractures, we reach its dramatic terminus, Tierra del Fuego, the land of fire. This massive island archipelago, split between Chile and Argentina, is separated from the mainland by the treacherous Strait of Magellan. It got its name from Ferdinand Magellan. As he navigated the strait in 1520, he looked south and saw the dark, mountainous coastline dotted with hundreds of small fires, day and night. He named it Tierra del Fuego. These fires were not, as some thought, volcanic. They were the bonfires of the Yagan people, one of the most remarkable and tragically misunderstood groups of humans on Earth. The Yagan were the southernmost people in the world. They lived a nomadic life in their canoes, navigating this brutal subantarctic climate of peat bogs, icy winds, and freezing rain. And they did it, astonishingly, with almost no clothing. Charles Darwin, who encountered them aboard the HMS Beagle in 1832, was utterly shocked. He described them in his journal as the most abject and miserable creatures I anywhere beheld. But what Darwin mistook for misery was, in fact, a brilliant hard-won adaptation. The Yagan survived the freezing conditions by smearing their bodies with seal fat for insulation. They built small temporary huts and kept fires constantly lit, even in their bark canoes as they traveled the channels. Their bodies had a higher resting metabolism, a kind of internal furnace, allowing them to withstand the cold. They lived this way for over 6,000 years. The thing nobody tells you is that this entire unique culture was wiped out in less than a generation. When European missionaries and settlers arrived in the late 19th century, they brought diseases like measles and smallpox, to which the Yagan had no immunity. Their population, once numbering in the thousands, collapsed. It was a heartbreaking and sudden end to a 6,000-year-old story. At the heart of this island sits Ushuaia, the southernmost city on Earth. It nestles in a spectacular setting between the snow-capped Marshall Mountains and the icy waters of the Beagle Channel. Ushuaia's origin story is grim. It was founded in 1884, not as a city, but as a penal colony. Argentina sent its most dangerous criminals and political prisoners here to the end of the world, believing escape was impossible. The prison, a star-shaped panopticon, is now the incredible Museo Marittimo y del Presidio. You can walk the narrow corridors, peer into the original cells, and learn the stories of its inmates. These included a notorious serial killer named Cayetano Santos Godino, known as the Big-Eared Shorty, and an anarchist, Simon Radowitzki, who famously escaped for a few weeks. The prisoners built the city. They worked in logging camps, ran the first printing press, and built the end-of-the-world train. This train, originally a 600mm gauge railway, was built to transport the prisoners to the forest to harvest timber. Today, that same train line has been beautifully restored as a tourist attraction. It's a charming, slow ride that takes visitors through the stunning Tierra del Fuego National Park, through river valleys and forests, all while a narrator explains the grim history of the prisoner's train. Today, Ushuaia has transformed. What was once a place of exile is now a bustling, vibrant hub for adventurers. It's the gateway to Antarctica, with massive cruise ships and research vessels filling its port. The city is a chaotic mix of alpine-style buildings, duty-free shops, and surprisingly sophisticated restaurants. For tourists, the thing to eat here is centolla, the massive Patagonian king crab, often pulled fresh from the channel and served in a creamy chupe stew. A popular activity is hiking to Laguna Esmeralda, a wow-factor gem of a lake whose stunning turquoise color comes from the silt of the Ojo del Albino glacier that feeds it. You can also ski at Cerro Casta, the world's southernmost ski resort. It's a place of bizarre superlatives. It has the southernmost golf course, the southernmost post office, and a palpable end-of-the-road feeling. From Ushuaia's port, a legendary waterway beckons, a channel that leads to the most feared patch of ocean on the planet. Flowing past Ushuaia is the Beagle Channel, the bloodstream of this world's end. This 150-mile-long passage, named after Charles Darwin's famous ship, connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. It is a stunningly beautiful and historically critical waterway, hemmed in by snow-capped mountains that plunge directly into the sea. Boat tours from Ushuaia are a must-do, a non-negotiable part of the experience. They navigate the channel, past rocky islands where hundreds of South American sea lions bask and bark. Their massive, blubbery forms crowded together, filling the air with a deafening, pungent roar. The boats cruise past large colonies of imperial cormorants, which look like Antarctic penguins with their black and white plumage. The tours head for the Les Éclaireurs lighthouse, a classic red and white tower perched on a tiny rock. It's one of the most photographed sites in the region. Many mistake it for the end-of-the-world lighthouse made famous by Jules Verne. But that one is actually further east. The channel is also where you find Martillo Island. This island is a unique natural reserve, home to a thriving colony of over 3,000 pairs of Magellanic penguins. But what makes it truly special is the presence of a smaller, more curious colony of Gentoo penguins with their bright orange beaks, and occasionally a few massive, majestic king penguins standing tall, far from their usual Antarctic home. A select few tours are licensed to land on the island and walk among the penguins. There are no barriers. It's an intimate, incredible experience watching them waddle, bray, and guard their burrows, completely indifferent to their human visitors. But as you sail east, the Beagle Channel empties into something far more sinister. This is where Patagonia truly ends and Antarctica begins. This is the Drake Passage. The Drake Passage is, without exaggeration, one of the roughest and most feared seas on Earth. It is a 500-mile-wide bottleneck where the Atlantic, Pacific, and Southern Oceans collide. There is no land, no continent at this latitude to stop the wind or the currents. The roaring 40s and down here the furious 50s winds whip up monstrous waves known as greybeards, which can easily top 40 feet and sometimes reach 80 feet or more. For centuries before the opening of the Panama Canal in 1914, this was the only route for ships sailing between the two great oceans, and at its southern tip lies the most infamous maritime landmark in the world, Cape Horn. Cape Horn is not on the mainland. It is a desolate, windswept, rocky headland on Hornos Island, the last speck of land before Antarctica. Since its first rounding by Dutch sailors in 1616, it has claimed over 800 ships and, it is estimated, more than 10,000 lives. The winds are savage, the currents are chaotic, and icebergs drift north from Antarctica. To round the Horn was the ultimate test for any ship and any sailor. A successful passage was a mark of supreme skill. A sailor's saying went, "Below 40 degrees south, there is no law. Below 50 degrees south, there is no God." A historic site on the island, a Chilean naval station, is home to a powerful memorial. It's a large steel sculpture of an albatross in flight, its silhouette cut out against the howling wind. It was designed by a Chilean sculptor to withstand winds of over 120 miles per hour. It honors the sailors who perished in these waters. In maritime tradition, the albatross was said to carry the souls of lost sailors. Seeing one was a sign of good luck. Here, it stands as a permanent, windswept memorial to the thousands who never made it. But to find Patagonia's true heart, one must travel north, back to the mainland, to a cave of ancient giants. Leaving the islands of Tierra del Fuego behind, we cross the Strait of Magellan, a 350-mile waterway that was the world's most important shipping lane before the Panama Canal was built. We land on the mainland and head to a town with an evocative name, Puerto Natales. This Chilean town sits on the Ultima Esperanza Sound, which translates to Last Hope Sound. It was named by an explorer in the 1500 who was desperately sailing its waters, searching for a passage to the Pacific. This was his last hope before turning back. Founded in 1911, Puerto Natales was built on the back of the wool boom, a gritty port town for the massive estancias in the region. It has a frontier feel, with colorful wooden houses topped with corrugated iron roofs, a practical design brought by British, German, and Croatian immigrants to withstand the relentless wind. The town's waterfront looks out over the Sound to the snow-capped mountains beyond. For decades, it was a working-class town, but today it has transformed. It's now a chic hub for trekkers, with boutique hotels, craft breweries, and high-end gear shops. The town itself is a charming, windswept port, but its main purpose today is as the primary gateway to Patagonia's crown jewel, Torres del Paine National Park. Before visitors head to the park, however, a detour is essential. Just 15 miles outside town lies the Cueva del Milodon, or the Milodon Cave. This massive cavern, over 600 feet deep with a 100-foot-high entrance, is a place of history and myth. In 1895, a German explorer named Hermann Eberhard stumbled upon a strange, remarkably well-preserved piece of animal hide inside. The skin was thick, leathery, covered in coarse reddish hair, and had small, bony deposits, like armor, embedded in it. It belonged to a Mylodon, a giant ground sloth that stood 12 feet tall on its hind legs and went extinct over 10,000 years ago. The discovery was a wow factor for the ages. It sparked a global sensation. Because the hide looked so fresh, preserved by the cold, dry air of the cave, rumors began to fly that the Mylodon was not extinct. Stories circulated of a prehistoric beast, a Patagonian giant, still roaming the hidden valleys. This legend was famously chronicled by the writer Bruce Chatwin in his book In Patagonia. He recounted local tales of the Mylodon still being sighted. While scientists confirmed the animal was long gone, the cave remains a potent link to the region's prehistoric past. Excavations also found human remains and tools, proving that Paleo-Indians had lived in this very cave, hunting these massive megafauna. Today, a life-sized replica of the Mylodon stands at the cave's entrance. After a day of exploring, tourists flood back into Puerto Natales for one of the core rituals of Patagonian culture, the Cordero al Palo. This is the traditional gaucho barbecue. A whole lamb is splayed on a metal cross and slow-roasted vertically over an open wood fire for hours. The result is incredibly tender, smoky meat. Many restaurants, called parrillas, have large, glassed-in fire pits where you can watch the chefs at work. Places like Jao Restaurant or Parrilla Don Jorge are local institutions, serving this massive, delicious feast. From this outpost of last hope, the trail leads directly to a sight that defies belief, 3 granite fingers pointing to the sky. This is it, the main event, the crown jewel of Patagonia. Torres del Paine National Park, a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve since 1978, this park is, for many, the single most beautiful place on the continent. The name is a mix of Spanish and Tehuelche. Torres means towers, and Paine, pronounced Paine, is the native word for blue, the Blue Towers. The park is a masterpiece of geological drama. The centerpiece, the towers themselves, are 3 colossal granite spires that rise over 9,000 feet straight up from the steppe. What makes them so visually stunning is their unique geology. They are part of a formation called a laccolith. 12 million years ago, magma pushed up from below the Earth's crust but didn't erupt. It cooled slowly, forming hard, pale granite. Above it was a cap of darker, softer sedimentary rock. Over millions of years, wind, rain, and, most importantly, massive glaciers scraped away the softer, dark rock, leaving the erosion-resistant granite spires exposed. you can still see the dark sedimentary horns on the nearby peaks, the Torres del Paine, giving them a unique two-tone appearance like mountains wearing dark, jagged hats. The park attracts over 250,000 visitors a year, most of whom come to hike. The best time to visit is in the shoulder seasons, spring, October-November, or autumn, March-April. Spring is especially wow factor because the flora is in bloom and the animals are in their breeding season. But the weather is famously wildly unpredictable. You can, and often do, experience all 4 seasons in a single day. The most famous route is the W Trek. This 50-mile-long trail is typically hiked in 4 or 5 days and hits the park's 3 main highlights, forming a W shape on the map. Day 1 often takes hikers to the west, to the face of the Grey Glacier. This is a massive river of ice, part of the southern Patagonian ice field, that terminates in the milky blue waters of Lago Grey. The wind here is ferocious, and you can watch as house-sized icebergs carve from the glacier's face and drift across the lake. Day 2 leads into the French Valley. This is a spectacular bowl-shaped valley surrounded by hanging glaciers. As you hike, you are treated to a near-constant soundtrack of cracking ice and thundering avalanches that tumble down the mountainsides. It feels and sounds like the world is actively being created around you. The final day is the most famous. It's the challenging uphill hike to the Base de las Torres, the viewpoint at the foot of the 3 granite towers. Hikers often start before dawn, using headlamps to arrive at the small glacial lake just as the sun rises. If the weather is clear, the first light hits the granite peaks, turning them a brilliant, fiery orange. It is a moment that visitors never forget. Hikers stay in refugios, which are rustic mountain lodges, or camp in designated areas. The thing is, you must book everything: lodges, campsites, even park entry, many months in advance. The park's popularity and the need to protect its fragile ecosystem mean you cannot just show up. The park is also a haven for wildlife. Herds of guanacos are everywhere, grazing peacefully on the hillsides. And where there are guanacos, there are pumas. Torres del Paine has one of the healthiest and most visible puma populations in the world. In recent years, puma tracking tours have become a major draw. Specialized guides with an almost supernatural ability to spot the cats lead small groups on excursions. The success rate is astonishingly high, with some operators claiming a 99% chance of a sighting. Across the border, in Argentina, a different kind of giant dominates the landscape, a glacier that is very much alive. Crossing back into Argentina, we arrive at the town of El Calafate. This small, bustling tourist hub sits on the shore of the massive, milky turquoise Lago Argentino. The town is named after the calafate berry, a small, dark and sweet berry that grows wild on the steppe. Local legend says that anyone who eats the calafate berry is guaranteed to return to Patagonia. It's a myth that seems to work as the town's tourism has exploded. El Calafate was founded in 1927 as a simple wool trading outpost. Today, its main street, Avenida del Libertador, is lined with alpine-style chalets, high-end outdoor gear shops, cozy bars, and somewhat bizarrely, a Yeti ice bar, where everything is made of ice. The town is packed with great hotels, from luxury spots with lake views like the Alto Calafate Hotel to charming rustic posadas. It exists for one primary reason. It is the gateway to Los Glaciares National Park, another UNESCO World Heritage Site, and home to the most famous glacier in the world. Perito Moreno. Perito Moreno is a wow factor on a scale that is hard to comprehend. It is a 3-mile-wide, 19-mile-long river of ice that flows down from the southern Patagonian ice field. Its front wall, or snout, rises an average of 240 feet above the surface of the lake. It is a literal wall of ice, jagged and blue. But the thing that makes Perito Moreno so special is not just its size, it's the fact that it's alive. While most glaciers worldwide are in a sad state of retreat, Perito Moreno is in a rare state of equilibrium. It advances at a startling rate of about 6 feet every single day. This constant, relentless movement means the glacier is always carving. An extensive network of metal boardwalks allows visitors to stand directly in front of the glacier's face safely. You wait and you listen. The glacier groans, cracks, and shifts, the sound echoing like a living thing. Then, without warning, a building-sized chunk of ice, or sometimes a skyscraper-sized pinnacle, will split off and crash into the lake, sending a massive wave rolling across the water. It is a visceral, powerful display of nature. The glacier's advance also creates a unique phenomenon called the ruptura, or rupture. The glacier slowly creeps across the lake until it slams into the opposite peninsula, forming a massive ice dam. This dam cuts the lake in two. The water in the southern arm, the Brazo Rico, begins to rise, sometimes by as much as 100 feet. The pressure builds and builds for months until finally the water punches a tunnel through the ice. Over a few days, this tunnel widens, and with a series of spectacular collapses, the entire ice dam disintegrates in a thundering, chaotic event that draws crowds from all over the world. This happens on average every 4 to 5 years. For the adventurous, this isn't just a spectator sport. You can take a boat tour to get right up to the glacier's face, feeling the cold air roll off the ice. Better yet, you can join an ice trekking tour. Guides will fit you with crampons, and you can hike directly on the glacier's surface. The mini trekking is a 1.5-hour walk, while the big ice is a more strenuous 7-hour adventure, taking you deep into a surreal world of deep blue crevasses, meltwater streams, and icy lagoons. But for true adventurers, Perito Moreno is just the warm-up. Further north lies the Mecca for a different kind of challenge. 3 hours north of El Calafate, connected by a spectacular paved road that cuts through the empty steppe, is a town that didn't even exist until 1985. This is El Chalten. It was founded by the Argentine government in a hurry, a strategic move to settle a border dispute with Chile. Today, it has a new, undisputed title, Argentina's national trekking capital. El Chalten is a scruffy, wind-blasted and utterly charming village nestled at the base of the most dramatic skyline in Patagonia. This is the home of Mount Fitzroy, the peak soaring to 11,171 feet. Was called El Chalten by the Tehuelche people. It means the smoking mountain. This is not because it's a volcano, but because a constant plume of clouds, whipped up by the ferocious winds, almost always hides its summit, making it look like it's smoking. Seeing the Fitzroy Peak on a clear, cloudless day is a rare and lucky event. The town itself is a paradise for hikers and climbers. What many overlooked in the planning is that they built a world-class adventure hub. Unlike Torres del Paine, there are no park entrance fees, and all the main trails start directly from the edge of the village. You can walk out of your hostel or hotel and within minutes be on a world-class trail. The town has a young, gritty, international hostel hangout vibe. It's full of craft breweries like La Cerveceria or Don Guerra, where climbers and hikers gather to tell stories over a beer. It has casual restaurants serving hearty stews, wood-fired pizzas, and, of course, Patagonian lamb. Accommodation ranges from basic campsites and climber-filled hostels to a few surprisingly chic boutique hotels. The most popular day hike is the trail to Laguna de los Tres. It's a challenging 13-mile round trip that ends with a notoriously steep 1-mile climb up a rocky moraine. But the reward is one of the greatest views on Earth. A pristine turquoise lagoon sitting directly at the base of the sheer 9,000-foot granite wall of Mount Fitzroy and its neighboring peaks. It's a view that doesn't feel real. For elite mountaineers, Fitzroy is a legend. Its sheer granite faces and the region's horrific, unpredictable weather make it one of the most technically difficult and dangerous climbs in the world. It's a mecca for the best of the best, and the small climbers' cemetery in town is a somber reminder of the risks. But you don't have to be a hardcore climber. There are dozens of other trails. A more moderate but equally stunning hike is the trail to Laguna Torre. This walk leads to a lake at the base of another impossible peak, the Cerro Torre, a slender, ice-caked needle of granite. For an easy short hike, the Los Condores viewpoint offers a fantastic panoramic view of the whole town and the mountain range. And it's a great place to watch for the giant Andean condors surfing the wind. El Chaltén is the raw, wild counterpart to the more organized beauty of El Calafate. It's a town that lives and breathes the rhythm of the wind and the rock. But the history of this land is not just in the rocks, it's painted on them, in a hidden canyon far to the east. While the peaks of the Andes draw the climbers and the glaciers draw the crowds, the vast Patagonian steppe holds secrets of its own. Deep in a remote canyon of the Pinturas River in Argentina lies a site that connects us directly to the region's first human inhabitants. This is Cueva de las Manos, the Cave of Hands. It is one of the most incredible examples of ancient rock art on Earth and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The thing is, it's incredibly difficult to get to. It's located in one of the most remote, depopulated parts of Patagonia. Most visitors fly to the small, dusty town of Perito Moreno, not to be confused with the glacier, and then hire a four-wheel drive vehicle or take a tour for the long, rough drive on gravel roads to the canyon. But the journey is worth it. The cave walls are covered with over 800 stenciled handprints dating back over 9,000 years. Most of the hands are left hands. Archaeologists believe the artists, who were likely right-handed, held a spraying pipe made of bone in their right hand. They would fill their mouths with natural pigments, ochre for red, kaolin for white, manganese for black, and blow the paint over their outstretched left hand. These are haunting personal messages from the deep past. They were created by hunter-gatherer cultures that thrived here. Hunting guanacos in the shadow of the last ice age. The images are not just hands. There are also vivid hunting scenes, with stick-figure humans running and throwing bolas, a type of hunting weapon, at guanacos. To stand in this cave is to feel a profound, chilling connection to the people who survived this harsh land millennia ago. Patagonia's wonders are not all on land. Further north, crossing back into Chile's wild Aysén region, we find Lago General Carrera. This massive 200-square-mile lake, which Argentina calls Lago Buenos Aires, is fed by glaciers and has a stunning, almost unnatural azure color. But its greatest treasure is hidden on the shoreline, accessible only from the tiny, rustic town of Puerto Rio Tranquilo. Over 6,000 years, the relentless lapping of the lake's water has carved a series of intricate caves and tunnels into a solid marble peninsula. These are the capillas de mármol, or marble cathedrals. Visitors take small boats or, for a more intimate experience, kayaks to navigate through these swirling, smooth-walled chambers. When the sunlight hits the turquoise water, it reflects onto the white and grey marble, creating a surreal, ethereal light show. It's like floating through a piece of abstract art. This entire region of Chile is connected by the Carretera Austral. It's a place of raw, untamed beauty, home to the Culat National Park. Here, a wow factor of geology defies gravity, the Ventisquero Colgante, or the Hanging Glacier. It's a massive glacier that spills over the edge of a cliff, with a thunderous waterfall cascading over 800 feet from its icy edge into the valley below. This is Patagonia at its most wild and untouched. But the story of Patagonia is also a story of strange arrivals, of utopias found, and of notorious outlaws finding a final refuge. The Patagonian steppe, for all its emptiness, has been a magnet for dreamers and fugitives. We already touched on the Welsh who landed at Puerto Madryn. Their story is one of sheer, stubborn grit. Their dream of a new Wales almost perished in the arid desert. They survived by digging irrigation canals from the Chubut River, turning a narrow strip of the valley into fertile farmland. Today, the town of Gaiman, inland from Trelew, is the living heart of this Welsh culture. It's a bizarre and delightful experience to sit in a traditional Welsh tea house or casa de té in the middle of the Argentine desert. You are served endless cups of tea, along with scones, fresh-baked bread with homemade jams, and the rich, dense torta negra. Black cake, a recipe born from the ingredients the settlers had. They also brought their culture. Every year, the region celebrates the Eisteddfod, a traditional Welsh festival of poetry, music, and performance that dates back to the Middle Ages. Competitors vie for prizes in choral singing, recitation, and poetry. The grand prize for the best poem is the Bard's Chair, a huge custom-carved wooden chair. A high honor in the community. It's a surreal display of medieval Welsh tradition thriving in the South American desert. But this remote region also attracted a very different and much more famous kind of settler. At the turn of the 20th century, the Patagonian steppe was, in many ways, the last frontier. It was the Wild West, just moved 10,000 miles south. And it became the perfect hiding place for the most famous outlaws in American history. In 1901, Butch Cassidy, his partner, the Sundance Kid, and Sundance's girlfriend, Etta Place, arrived in Argentina. They were fleeing the relentless pursuit of the Pinkerton detectives who were closing in on them in the United States. Under the new names James Ryan, Harry Place, and Etta Place, they traveled to the remote town of Cholila in the foothills of the Andes. There, they bought a 12,000-acre ranch and built a sturdy 4-room log cabin. For a few years, they lived as respectable ranchers, raising cattle and sheep. They were known and generally liked by their neighbors, who had no idea who they were. But, as the saying goes, a leopard can't change its spots. They soon returned to their old ways, robbing a bank in the town of Rio Gallegos over 800 miles south. The law eventually closed in, and in 1905, they were forced to sell their ranch and flee to Chile, disappearing into legend. Their cabin in Cholila still stands, a quiet, dilapidated monument to one of history's strangest footnotes. This is also the land of La Troquita, or the Old Patagonian Express. It's a narrow-gauge steam train made famous by Paul Theroux's book. It was built to connect the remote estancias, but was obsolete almost as soon as it was finished. Today, it still chugs along a small section of its original track near the town of Esquel, a puffing, steaming relic of a bygone era. Its whistle a lonely sound in the vast steppe. As we move north from the steppe, the landscape changes one last time, softening into a world of pristine lakes, lush forests, and smoking volcanoes. This is the other Patagonia. The northern region, known as the Lake District, is a world away from the harsh winds and icy spires of the south. Here, the Andes are lower, the valleys are greener, and the landscape is dominated by dozens of deep, crystal-clear, glacier-fed lakes. This area saw heavy German and Swiss settlement in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The architecture is a dead giveaway. Towns like Puerto Varas in Chile and San Carlos de Bariloche in Argentina look like they were plucked directly from the Alps. They are filled with wooden chalets, steep-roofed houses, microbreweries, and most famously, chocolate. San Carlos de Bariloche is the heart of the Argentine Lake District. It's a massive, bustling resort town on the shores of the magnificent Lago Nahuel Huapi. A 200-square-mile lake. The town is famous for two things: skiing at Cerro Cathedral in the winter and its incredible European-style chocolate. The history of chocolate here dates back to an Italian immigrant, Aldo Fenoglio, who started the tradition. His sons went on to found Rapa Nui, one of the most famous shops. The main street, Calle Mitra, is lined with artisanal chocolate shops like Mamushka, famous for its timbal de dulce de leche, Rapa Nui, and El Reino de los Chocolates. A must-try is the chocolate en rama, chocolate bark, a Bariloche specialty. This lake, Nahuel Huapi, even has its own monster. For decades, locals have reported sightings of Nahuelito, a long-necked, plesiosaur-like creature. It is Patagonia's very own Loch Ness monster. The region's most famous drive is the Circuito Chico, a 37-mile scenic loop that starts in Bariloche. It winds along the lake, past the iconic Llao Llao Hotel, a massive historic luxury resort, and up to the Cerro Campanario viewpoint. A chairlift takes you to the top, which offers what National Geographic once called one of the top 10 views in the world. A 360-degree panorama of lakes and mountains. An even more famous drive is the Ruta de los Siete Lagos, or the Seven Lakes Road. This 120-mile route winds its way from San Martín de los Andes to Villa La Angostura, twisting through lush national parks and offering breathtaking viewpoints of one pristine lake after another. Across the border in Chile, the landscape is dominated by volcanoes. The snow-capped cone of the Osorno volcano, a perfect Fuji-like peak, towers over Lago Llanquihue. Further south, the Villarrica volcano is one of the most active in South America. It's one of only a handful of volcanoes in the world with a persistent bubbling lava lake in its crater. Adventurous tourists can actually hike to the summit and peer over the edge at the molten rock below. But perhaps the most striking feature of this northern region is its ancient forests. This is the home of the Araucaria, or the monkey puzzle tree. This is a wow factor tree. It is a living fossil, a species that dominated the landscape when dinosaurs roamed the earth. These strange umbrella-shaped trees with their sharp reptilian-like branches can live for over 1,000 years. They are sacred to the native Mapuche people who have lived in these forests for centuries, long before any borders were drawn. From the alpine charm of Bariloche to the ancient mystery of the monkey puzzle forests, this region is the green, gentle introduction to the savage, icy heart of Patagonia that lies to the south. This is where the journey often begins, not in the ice, but in the green. San Carlos de Bariloche. It's the northern gateway. a city that feels like it was plucked from the Swiss Alps and dropped in the Andes. It sits on the shore of Lago Nahuel Huapi, a massive 200-square-mile lake of icy, deep blue water. Many people are crazy about this place. It's Patagonia's little Switzerland. The architecture is all alpine chalets, timber frames, and stone facades. Cable car rides lift you high above the town, revealing vistas of snow-capped peaks and the vast, glittering lake. This is the heart of Nahuel Huapi National Park. A land of ancient forests and pristine rivers. But Bariloche is famous for something else: chocolate. The main street is a gauntlet of chocolate shops, each one a temple to the cocoa bean. This is also where you find some of the region's most iconic hotels. They aren't just places to sleep, they are landmarks. High on a hill overlooking the meeting point of two lakes sits the Llao Llao Resort and Spa. It's a wow factor of architecture. An iconic alpine resort built of timber and stone. It has its own golf course, a massive spa, and even offers chocolate-making classes. It's a fortress of luxury against the wilderness. But not all the luxury is so grand. Nearby, in the forest, you find places like Las Balsas, Relais, and Chateau. It's a riverside sanctuary, a place for quiet. This is where you come for gourmet picnics by the water, for fly fishing in silent streams, surrounded by ancient cypress trees. And what about the food? In Bariloche, you are introduced to the king of all Patagonian meals, the Cordero al Palo, the Patagonian lamb on a spit. This isn't just a barbecue. To put it mildly, it's a ritual. You'll see it in estancias all around the lake. A whole lamb splayed on a metal cross, angled over a bed of slow-burning coals. It roasts for 6, sometimes 8 hours. The result is meat so tender and smoky it falls from the bone. It is the iconic taste of the region. And the culture? This is where you can begin to understand the people. You can visit the Museo del Traje, the costume museum, to see the history of the attire worn by the land's original inhabitants and the pioneers who followed. Even further north in the Valle de Rio Negro, you find a wow factor of a different kind, the Valle Perdido Wine Resort. You see, Patagonia isn't just ice, it's also a burgeoning wine region. This is a vineyard estate, a place to taste the deep, rich Malbecs that grow in this harsh climate. You can take horseback rides through the vines and return to a cozy fireplace, a glass of wine in hand, as the wind howls outside. This is the gentle introduction to Patagonia. But the thing is, the real wilderness is calling. The further south you go, the wilder it gets. And to get there, you must travel the wildest road of all. It is not a highway, it is an artery, a 770-mile gravel track that cuts through the rawest, most untamed part of Chile. This is the Carretera Austral. It is a legend among road trippers, a scenic route through a world of fjords, temperate rainforests, and hanging glaciers. This is the Aysén region, a place of impossible green and staggering blue. The road is a challenge. It's unpaved, winding, and often treacherous. You need a four-wheel drive. You need patience. The road simply dead ends at massive fjords, forcing you and your vehicle onto ferries to cross the water and find the road again on the other side. The stops along the way are otherworldly. You pass remote hot springs, hidden in the forest. You drive by hanging glaciers that spill over cliffs. And you come to a place that defies belief, Puerto Rio Tranquilo. This tiny, windswept village is the access point for the marble caves. You get in a small boat, or a kayak, and paddle out onto the massive turquoise expanse of Lago General Carrera. For 6,000 years, the waves have been sculpting the shoreline, carving a peninsula of solid marble into a network of swirling blue caves. You can paddle right through them. The sunlight reflects off the water, and the entire world turns an electric, pulsating blue. It is a natural cathedral, a wow factor of geology. This is also the land of the Mapuche, the people of the earth. They are one of South America's most resilient indigenous cultures. Their traditions are still strong here. At ceremonial gatherings, you can see their traditional attire. The women wear a kupam, a heavy wool wrap skirt, usually in deep black and red patterns. Over it, they wear a trarive, a woven shawl, and a stunning collection of silver jewelry, massive, intricate necklaces, earrings, and headpieces, adorned with coins. It's a sign of status and a connection to the spiritual world. The men wear makun, or tunics, and confines, or wool sashes. This isn't just clothing. It's a statement of identity, woven from the wool of their sheep and dyed with plants from this very land. The food here is just as earthy. In the nearby islands of Chiloé, the Mapuche influence gives us curanto. This is a feast from the earth itself. A deep pit is dug and filled with hot stones. Then it's layered: shellfish, mussels, clams, potatoes, milcao, which are potato pancakes, and cuts of pork and chicken. The whole pile is covered with massive nalca leaves, which are like giant rhubarb, and then with wet sacks and dirt. It steams in this earth oven for hours. The result is a smoky, savory, communal meal that tastes of the land and the sea. The rivers of Aysén also provide another staple: trucha ahumada, smoked trout. The trout are pulled fresh from the cold Andean lakes, then cold smoked with local herbs. It's often served with quinoa salad. It's a clean, sustainable taste of the cold, pure water. But the road must end, and when it does, the mountains begin, the land of the trekkers. Imagine a town that didn't exist 40 years ago. A town created for one reason: to be a foothold in the wilderness. This is El Chaltén. It sits in a remote valley in Argentina, a scruffy, wind-blasted, and utterly charming village. It has one purpose. It is the national trekking capital. This is a hiker's paradise, to put it mildly. And the reason is simple. All the trails start at the edge of town. There are no park fees. You just walk out of your hostel and you are on a world-class trail. The town has a young, international vibe. It's full of craft breweries, casual pizza joints, and gear shops. The goal for every trekker is to see the wow factor that looms over the town, the jagged peaks of Mount Fitzroy. The indigenous Tehuelche called it Chaltén, the smoking mountain. This isn't because it's a volcano. It's because the furious winds at its summit whip up a permanent plume of clouds, making the peak look like it's perpetually on fire. The most famous trek is the one to Laguna de los Tres. It's a long, tough day hike. The final mile is a brutal, steep scramble up a pile of loose rock. But the reward is a panoramic sunrise that will change you. You stand at the edge of a turquoise lagoon, and the first light of dawn hits the granite spires of Fitzroy, turning them a brilliant, fiery orange. The thing is, you need fuel for a climb like that. And in El Chalten, the fuel is the empanada de cordero. It's the perfect trail snack, a flaky, baked pastry stuffed with spiced lamb, onions, and olives. It's portable, hearty, and unbelievably delicious. It's a handheld meal you can eat while staring at a billion-dollar view. For years, El Chalten was all about rustic hostels and campsites, but that has changed. Now you can find sleek, sustainable luxury. The Explorer El Chalten is a game-changer. It's a stunning, low-profile lodge designed to blend into the landscape. It's all-inclusive. That means all your meals, all your Patagonian wine, and most importantly, all your guided hikes are included. It has direct trail access. You can tackle the mountains all day and return to a level of comfort that seems impossible this deep in the wilderness. From the trekking capital, the journey continues south to the land of the true giants, the ice. We arrive in El Calafate. This bustling Argentine town is the base for glacier adventures. It sits on the shore of Lago Argentino, a vast milky blue lake. The town is named for the Calafate berry, a small, dark, tart berry that grows on thorny bushes all over the steppe. The local legend is simple: eat the Calafate berry and you are guaranteed to return to Patagonia. And many people are crazy about this berry. You find it everywhere, in jams, in ice creams, in empanadas, and even in cocktails. It's the antioxidant-rich taste of the pampas. The town itself is a hub. You can visit the glaciarium, a wow factor museum that explains the science of the ice fields, or you can take a quiet walk to the Nimes Lagoon, a bird sanctuary on the edge of town. Here you can see flocks of pink Chilean flamingos, a surreal splash of tropical color against the icy landscape. But everyone is here for one reason: to see the giant. The Perito Moreno Glacier. This is a monster. It's a 3-mile-wide, 19-mile-long river of ice. Its front wall, its snout, rises 240 feet above the lake. But the thing that makes Perito Moreno so special is not just its size, it's the fact that it is alive. While most glaciers in the world are retreating, Perito Moreno is in a state of equilibrium. It advances up to 6 feet every single day. You stand on a network of metal walkways and you watch, and you listen. The glacier groans, it cracks. It sounds like a living thing. Then, without warning, a slab of ice the size of a building splits off and collapses into the lake. The sound is a deafening thunder, a carving that echoes across the valley. Boat tours get you so close you can feel the cold radiating off the ice. This is the land of the estancia, the great ranches, and this is where you can find one of the most exclusive hotels in the world. Iolo, a luxury lodge. It is built in the style of an old estancia, but with pure modern luxury. It sits on 5,000 private acres of wind-swept land. It offers private safaris to the glaciers and at night hosts traditional asado barbecues under a sky filled with stars. This is the land of the gaucho. His outfit is a badge of honor, a symbol of independence. The bombachas, baggy trousers, perfect for a life on horseback. The facon, a heavy knife tucked into his belt. and the poncho. This is his shield, his home, his defense against the wind. And this is the home of the asado patagonico. This is the gauchos' social ritual. An open-fire barbecue, but it's not just a steak. It's a feast of beef ribs, chorizo, and offal. It's all cooked low and slow over the coals. It's served with a simple chimichurri sauce of parsley, garlic, and oil. It is the hearty, smoky, communal heart of Patagonian culture. Across the border, in Chile, lies the crown jewel, the most famous park of all. We cross back into Chile. Our first stop is Puerto Natales. This was once a gritty port town, a place for sheep ranchers and fishermen. Today, it's a chic, colorful gateway to adventure. The waterfront is lined with murals. You can go kayaking in the fjords or browse the fresh seafood markets. This town is also home to some of the most unique luxury hotels on the planet. They aren't just buildings, they are experiences. The singular Patagonia is the most famous. It's a massive, 100-year-old cold storage wool mill right on the fjord's edge. It has been converted into a 5-star hotel. The old industrial machinery is still there, preserved like a museum. The spa is literally built inside the old riveted boilers. Then there is Remota Patagonia Lodge. This is an eco-lodge, a long, low building with wooden interiors that evoke the spirit of the estancias. It's a place that focuses on community tourism, on horse treks, and on connecting with the land. From here, you go to the park, Torres del Paine, the Blue Towers. This is the postcard. The iconic granite spires that rip into the sky. It's a land of turquoise lakes, thundering glaciers, and vast pampas roamed by herds of guanacos. The best way to see it is to hike the W Circuit, a multi-day trek that takes you to the 3 main valleys. You'll see the face of the Grey Glacier. You'll hear the avalanches in the French Valley, and you'll make the sunrise hike to the base of the towers themselves. The hotels inside the park are, to put it mildly, on another level. Explora Torres del Paine is an all-inclusive adventure base, set with panoramic views of the towers. Tierra Patagonia is a marvel of modern architecture, a flowing wooden building that disappears into the landscape, with an infinity pool that looks directly at the glaciers. And for ultimate privacy, there is Awasi Patagonia. It's a collection of just 12 private villas. Each with its own personal guide and 4-wheel drive. It's off-grid, running on solar power, with stargazing decks for the clear, cold nights. This is the land of the Huaso, the Chilean cowboy. He is a figure of pure national pride, a horseman of unmatched skill. His costume is similar to the gauchos, but with his own distinct flair. He is more formal, more dressed than his Argentine counterpart. He wears a chupala, a flat-topped straw hat. It's not for show. It's a shield against the brutal sun of the Central Valleys. His poncho is different too. It's a shorter, more decorative, and often brightly colored cape called a manta. It's a badge of honor, woven with complex patterns that tell a story of his home. But to truly understand the Huaso, you must see him in his element, the rodeo. This isn't like an American rodeo. There is no bull riding, no barrel racing. This is a display of pure, traditional horsemanship. The arena is called a media luna, a half moon. The goal is for 2 Huasos to work in perfect concert, guiding their horses to pin a young steer against a specific part of the padded wall. It is a ballet of power and precision. At these local rodeos, you'll see them in their finest, their Sunday best. They wear immaculate white shirts and embroidered vests. Their horses are gleaming, and on their boots, the spurs. They are not small, simple tools. They are heavy, ornate wheels of steel, sometimes 4 or 5 inches across. They are works of art passed down through generations. They are a symbol of a culture that refuses to die. And the food? This is a place to try something truly wild. Guanaco filet. What is a guanaco? It is the wild ancestor of the llama. A graceful, slender camelid that roams the high plains and steppes. They are icons of the Patagonian wilderness. For millennia, this animal was the lifeblood of the indigenous peoples. A staple for the Mapuche and the Tehuelche, it provided meat, hide, and bone. It was survival. For a long time, hunting them was banned. Their numbers had dwindled. Today, that has changed. The guanaco is back. It is ethically sourced from massive private reserves that manage the herds for conservation. This isn't farmed meat. This is the wild. The meat is lean, incredibly lean. It is a deep, dark red, almost purple. Chefs here treat it with the respect it deserves. It is grilled hot and fast, served rare. To cook it anymore would be a crime. The flavor is intense. It is slightly gamey, like fine venison, but with a clean, mineral taste. A flavor you will find nowhere else. This is not just a meal. It is a true taste of the Patagonian wild. Our journey takes us south. We follow the spine of the Andes until it shatters into 1,000 islands. Our journey ends where the land ends. We go to the southernmost city on the planet. We must fly. We cross the Strait of Magellan to the island of Tierra del Fuego, the land of fire. It was Ferdinand Magellan who gave it that name. As he navigated the treacherous strait in 1520, he saw the coast dotted with mysterious fires. They were the campfires of the indigenous Yagan people, burning day and night. Here, the Andes Mountains, which have marched for thousands of miles down a continent, make their final dramatic plunge into the sea. The peaks rise straight from the icy water. We arrive in Ushuaia. This is it, the end of the road, the bottom of the world. The city feels like a temporary outpost, clinging to the edge of civilization. It was once a penal colony, Argentina's version of Siberia. This was a place of exile, built by the convicts who were sent here, a prison at the end of the earth. Today, that dark history is just one layer. The city is a bustling, chaotic port. It is the gateway to the last continent, Antarctica. Icebreakers and research vessels clog the harbor, preparing for their voyage south. Adventure tourism is everywhere. The city is wedged between the snow-capped Marshall Mountains and the icy, steel-gray Beagle Channel. The wind never stops. It feels raw, unfinished. From here, the wilderness is just steps away. You can explore the Tierra del Fuego National Park. This is a place of almost surreal beauty. It is the only national park in Argentina that combines mountains, forest, and sea. You can hike coastal trails where the subantarctic forest meets the salt water. The trees are twisted into fantastic shapes by the relentless wind. They are survivors. You can cruise the Beagle Channel. The channel itself is named for the ship that carried Charles Darwin on his famous voyage. You sail through a landscape that has not changed in 10,000 years. You pass small islands covered in sea lion colonies. The massive males bark and fight for dominance. You sail past the famous red and white lighthouse Les Éclaireurs. The lighthouse at the end of the world. It stands alone, a tiny speck of human order in a vast, wild sea. But one of the greatest wow factors requires a short trip back, a boat trip from nearby Punta Arenas into the legendary Strait of Magellan. This strait is history. This is the passage explorers searched for, a route that terrified sailors with its willy wars, sudden, violent winds that could sink a ship in minutes. You go to Isla Magdalena. As you approach, you see it, a low, windswept island. Then you hear it, and you smell it. This isn't just a penguin colony, it is a penguin metropolis. More than 60,000 pairs of Magellanic penguins, over 120,000 birds, come here to breed every year. You are allowed to land. You can walk on a roped-off path right through the middle of their burrows. It is pure, magnificent chaos. They are everywhere, waddling, preening, fighting, and sleeping. They have no fear of humans. You are simply an obstacle. The air is filled with their braying, donkey-like calls, a deafening, constant wall of sound. You are not in a zoo. You are a visitor in their city. It is an overwhelming and truly unforgettable experience. Back in Ushuaia, the food is all about the sea. There is one thing you must eat, the number one thing. Centola, king crab. These are not the crabs you know. These are massive, spidery, bright red creatures. They are pulled from the frigid, pure waters of the Beagle Channel, water that is fed by Antarctic currents. This extreme cold and purity is their secret. It makes the meat impossibly sweet and tender. They are served simply. There is no heavy sauce, no complex seasoning. Just boiled or grilled with a side of lemon, that is all it needs. You can pick your own from a massive tank at restaurants in the market. It is a perfect, delicate luxury. The taste of the clean, frozen South. But there is another side to the food here. This is also a place to find the humble foods of the indigenous people. The foods of survival, the milcao. At first glance, it looks like a simple potato pancake. It is so much more. It is a staple of the Tehuelche and Mapuche people. It is a food of the earth. It's made from a mix of two kinds of potatoes. Half are mashed. The other half are raw and grated, then squeezed dry. The two are mixed, sometimes with pork fat, and then pan-fried until crispy and golden. If the centola is the food of the sea, the milcao is the food of the land. It is the perfect, hearty, warming side to a thick stew on a frigid night. It is fuel. It is history. And what about that Welsh fruitcake, the torta negra galesa? You even find it here, hundreds and hundreds of miles from the Welsh colonies in Trelew. It serves as a reminder of the settlers who came to Patagonia with nothing but their traditions. Their descendants and their recipes spread all across this vast land. This cake was built to last. A dense, dark brick of fruit and liquor that could survive a long ocean voyage. Another food of survivors. This is a land of survivors. It is a land of extremes. Of wind and ice and sun. The Tehuelche hunters, the Mapuche weavers, the Welsh settlers, the Chilean huasos. Their clothing tells the story. The quillango, the thick, heavy robe of the Tehuelche, made from guanaco hides, sewn together, with the fur turned inward for warmth. The trariwe, the long, woven shawls of the Mapuche women, dyed with patterns that tell of their family and their connection to the earth. The poncho of the gaucho and the manta of the huaso, a perfect garment for a life on horseback. These are not costumes. They are functional cultural badges, woven with natural dyes from plants and minerals, sewn from hides. They are a testament to human resilience, a story of people who learned to live in one of the world's most beautiful and most unforgiving places. Patagonia is not a place you visit. It's a force you experience, a land of giants that reminds us how small we truly are.